God bless you. Today we'll be doing a study in Exodus. We'll be reading the 10 Commandments. I'll begin. That's chapter 20. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. So there it says about not having any other gods before you, like idol worship, for example. And this day and age, it may not be worshipping another god, but maybe like worshipping like a celebrity, or like, of course, being like a fan, like a fanatic, who are saying, oh, this celebrity isn't they great. You may not be saying they're a god or anything like that, but you're obsessed about them. You know more about celebrities than you do the word of God. So, I'll continue. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labour and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger, who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it. So there you have another 2 commandments. It's, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. So that's quite important, that we shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain, which is something very common that I see even Christians do, where you say OMG and all that and things like that. Taking the Lord's name in vain is something we shouldn't do. But a lot of Christians aren't aware of that and still do it to this day because they don't think it's a big deal. And then it talks about the Sabbath, which is something that where we need to make sure that we have to rest on the Sabbath. Although of course Jesus said the Sabbath to still help people and stuff, but we can't be like doing tons of work and everything. I'll continue. Honour your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. So we have to honour our father and mother. You shall not murder. Well, I don't think I have to really explain that too much. Just don't murder. Then you shall not commit adultery, so you can't be sleeping with people. So like, for example, no sex before marriage, or you can't be like just going around or cheating on your wife or your husband, for example. And then you shall not steal. So it can be the smallest thing, like stealing a pen off someone or just anything, but it can be anything, but you cannot steal because stealing is a sin. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbour. So that means that you can't like testify against your neighbour or just anyone. It doesn't just mean your neighbour, but anyone, and say, oh, this person did something. So of course that comes up that you shall not lie, for example. It comes up to the other commandment about you shall not lie. And of course, if you bear false witness, which you are lying, so it comes under that. Now you shall not covet your neighbour's house. You shall not covet your neighbour's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbour's. So it means that you can't be jealous. You can't envy other people, because being jealous is a sin, because you have to think about what God has given you rather than what you don't have. So you've got to think about what you do have rather than what you don't. Think about the good things, not the bad things. Praising God in all of it. Now, that is the 10 Commandments.
Now, with young man, where you said, thou shalt not kill, and that's all you can say. Do you remember Sermon on the Mount?
Yeah,
what did Jesus say about, it's the look with hate.
Oh yeah, even
murder.
Even just hating a person it's the same thing to kill a person, or with commit adultery. Even Jesus said to even look at a person with lust is the same to commit adultery. So just by looking at a person from lust or to hate someone, you have already committed a sin against the 10 Commandments, against God.
And you also remember about who the Lord of the Sabbath is. Do you know?
Not completely, could you say?
Okay, so are you aware Jesus actually worked on the Sabbath?
Oh yeah, he healed.
That's what they saw. They were like, "Oh, you healed that man." He
and
goes,
he gave
"Who
the
wouldn't do
parable about
good?"
the good shepherd, right?
Yep.
The shepherd.
And do you remember he talked about who wouldn't feed their animals or give them water just because it was Sabbath? And of course, no one had anything to say. They were just quiet and grumbling and obstinate. And you could see how hard-hearted they were that they ignored. And he healed that man, his arms stretched out. Or the man, and he told him to get up and walk and pick up his own bed. And even that was considered work that you weren't to do. And then they were against when... So not only is Jesus doing good deeds, but do you remember when the disciples were picking ears of corn to feed themselves?
Yeah.
That was also considered breaking the Sabbath. Or when he talked about David and the showbread. Do you remember when David left? And he ended up at the place where they had the showbread, which goes back to the priests, and
so he can do work that
so
needs to be done.
It's in things have to be done in the right context. So am I trying to fill my coffers for my own selfish desire?
Or is it
am I trying to do for me, or am I trying to do what's right? Because we're all gonna fall short, and you're gonna find very many different people's opinions on this one part of the Ten Commandments. And I certainly don't expect to know it correctly myself, son.
Yeah. So that was the Ten Commandments. I will keep reading to the end of the chapter about it. Now all the people witnessed the thunderings, the lightnings, flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. And they said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die." And Moses said to the people, "Do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, so that you may not sin." So of course it goes back, I think it's the book of, is it Proverbs or Wisdom, where it says the beginning of...
It's Proverbs for the beginning of wisdom. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. That's right.
And Moses said, "Do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, so that you may not sin." So of course, we have fear of God and stuff, it will help us not to break the Ten Commandments and sin.
No, because when you're naughty, that means judgment's coming. Punishment.
Because God sees everything we do.
Yep, so when you know better, you do better.
So the people stood afar off, but Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, you have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make anything to be with me, gods of silver or gods of gold. You shall not make for yourselves an altar of earth. You should not make for me, and your sacrifice on it, your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I record my name, I will come to you, and I will bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone. For if you use your tool on it, you have profaned it, nor shall you go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness may not be exposed on it." So that was the Ten Commandments and a bit afterwards. I hope you've learned something today about the different commandments and about what Jesus said to do with the commandments, that even if for example, to look at a woman with lust is to commit adultery. So to break the Ten Commandments,
it's about what's in your heart. What your heart desires is the reasons behind everything.
And you have to resist the temptation.
Yep, deny self.
And pick up your cross.
That's right, and follow Jesus, because he is the way,
the truth, and the light.
Amen. Life,
sorry, I always
Amen.
get that.
That's
no
okay.
one comes through the Father, but through the Son.
Jesus is the light. We learn from him and follow him. Abide in Christ, attached to the vine. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.